In this week's Webdvar, I'd like to speak about the midah, the characteristic of anger. In our parsha, we know of the famous story of Moshe hitting the rock. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God tells Moshe to speak to the rock, and the rock will bring forth water for the Jewish people. And Moshe hits the rock not only once, but the pasuk says, "Vayach es ha'asela b'mateu pa'mayim." He hits the rock twice. What's the significance of Moshe hitting the rock twice? The story is told about Rabbi Yisrael Miruzhin, who once saw his son become angry on another person. And as he watched his son become angry for a moment, he sat quietly. And his son saw that he was quiet. His son figured, okay, my father doesn't mind. I have a right to be angry. It's okay. So his son continued to be angry. And then his father spoke up and said, you mustn't be angry. He said, learn the lesson from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, from God himself. The Gemara tells us, based on the pasuk in Tehillim, that the pasuk in Tehillim says something that we say in our davening. Ki rega be'apo, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God, becomes angry every day. How long does he become angry? For a rega, just for a moment. Not beyond that moment. So the Gemara says that we cannot become angrier than HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If God only becomes angry for a moment, how are we as human beings allowed to become more angry? So Rabbi Yisrael Miruzhin was saying to his son, look at what happened to Moshe Rabbeinu. Why was Moshe Rabbeinu punished? Yes, we have one reason, is because he didn't speak to the rock. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God wanted him to make a Kiddush Hashem by speaking to the rock, but also because he allowed his kas, he allowed his anger, his frustration to boil over beyond what the norm was. We're all human beings. Moshe Rabbeinu was a human being also, although he was an Isha Elokim, he was a man of God. There was no human being who had a connection with God like Moshe did. But nevertheless, Moshe had this moment of kaas, this moment of anger, but it was followed by another moment. And once he went beyond the measure of anger that Kadosh Baruch Hu, that God himself has, then Hashem says that's too much. Moshe had to be punished. Because of the fact that Moshe hit the rock twice, that is in essence, says the Rizhiner, as to why Moshe Rabbeinu was punished. And so too, in our lives, we have to understand as well. The midah of anger is a midah that all human beings have. It's a characteristic, it's a trait that all human beings have. We all become angry. Yet, what do we do with our anger, and how long do we become angry for? There are those of us who become angry for a moment, and then just calm down and lose it. And then just be able to relax. There are those of us who allow anger to take control of us. So much so that we feel as if the anger is pushing us even further to become angrier and hostile towards people. And what we need to do is we need to be able to garner control of our anger so that we don't do something that there will be consequences for in a negative way. That's the real lesson of what happened with Moshe Rabbeinu and the rock. If we're able to grab a hold of our anger, even if we have it, just for the moment, and say, okay, get control, grasp it so it doesn't allow us to do something that we will be sorry for, then ultimately we will be in control of this midah, we will be in control of our anger, and our anger will not be in control of us. May we be zocheh to recognize our characteristics, our strengths, our weaknesses, and continue to work on ourselves every day of our lives. Thank you for listening, and have a good Shabbos.